Every day you speak with the dead, not in whispers, not in rituals, but in sayings, saved by the bell, bite the bullet, kick the bucket, phrases that slip from your mouth without weight until you learn where they were born. They are fossils of fear, excavated from graves, from battlefields, from slaughterhouses, smoothed by time, but sharp if you hold them too long. We say these words as jokes, as throwaways, but the past is patient, and patience is not mercy. Tonight, we open the bags, we hear the bells, we count the buckets, we walk the long corridor where language keeps its dead. And if you stay to the end, you will never speak the same way again. Before the beep of a heart monitor, before the white corridors hummed with fluorescent patience, death was decided by consensus. 3 hands on a body, still enough, cold enough, and it was done. The ground took people who still carried the day's breath in their lungs. Graveyards learned to ring. A cord tied to the wrist, threaded through the coffin lid, up through a pipe carved into the soil, ending at a small bell, small enough to hide in your palm, small enough for the wind to claim. If you woke, you pulled. If someone listened, you lived. The trouble is, not every bell is heard. She collapsed mid-toast. Apoplexy, they said. The red of the wine barely settled before she was lowered into the family vault. In her hands, a rose. Petals perfect. Stem still wet. 3 days later, a sexton patrolling the crypt heard the sound of silk tearing. It came from her coffin. When he opened it, the rose was gone, shredded into wet threads across the satin lining, her lips torn, her teeth lacquered with their own red. One eye stared up at the lid, coated in a film of dust. The sexton dropped his lantern. The flame took before he could pick it up. injured in a crash, is declared dead at the roadside, placed in a body bag. The zipper's teeth bite shut. The bag slides into the mortuary freezer. The door closes like punctuation. Hours later, a night attendant notices the zipper has shifted half an inch. He opens it. The man's eyes snap to the light, not in relief, but urgency. He dies before dawn, not from the crash, from the cold. Some bells aren't metal. This one was steel, 20 centimeters from your nose. A freezer truck stopped at a border. Inside, 42 human bodies, shrink-wrapped in stacks. The border police do a quick count. All dead. We tell this story like the bell hung above a grave. But the first time the phrase was written down, it was ringside. A boxer, beaten to the edge of unconsciousness, rescued by the end of a round chime. The coffin link came later. Victorian imagination stitching its favorite fear to a useful phrase. A myth, yes, but myths are truths that prefer metaphor. Some bells save you. Others open what was meant to stay closed. Some sayings were born in the market, in the noise of coins, sweat, and livestock. Markets run on trust and on breaking it. In medieval fairs, farmers sold live piglets in sacks. A cheat could swap the pig for a cat. Lighter, worthless, furious when revealed. The scam only failed when someone let the cat out of the bag. But bags carried more than fraud. In some kingdoms, the punishment for certain crimes was to sew a prisoner inside a sack with an animal. Sometimes a dog, sometimes a snake, and sometimes a cat. Claws like hooks, teeth for stitching flesh from the inside out. In the dark, there is no difference between screaming and praying. A merchant caught swapping piglets for half-dead cats is sentenced. Witnesses said they heard screaming inside the sack, and another sound, a tearing sound. By morning, the river carried both downstream. A relief worker cuts open a sack marked for grain. Instead, the smell of rot. Inside, vacuum-sealed organs, labels in another language. The shipment had passed 2 checkpoints. No one spoke of it again. A truck overturns on a mountain road. Crates burst open. Not fruit, not feed. Dozens of cats and dogs, starved, diseased, bound for black market labs. Some still alive. Claws scraping the asphalt, like someone trying to write a word they'd never learn. Truth is never meant to be comfortable. That's why people hide it, in bags, in boxes, in phrases. And every time one is open, the world sees something it can't forget. If you've stayed with me this far, you already know curiosity is dangerous. But it's also the only thing that keeps us alive. So, open the bag a little further. Subscribe. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think waits inside the next one.
An oath means nothing until you swear it with the weight of yourself.
During sieges, defenders piled the dead at gates, a barricade of bone and loyalty. Commanders swore, "Over my dead body," and meant it. In plague years, families refused to abandon the infected, dying in the same bed, becoming part of the barricade against the world. When the outer wall fell, the captain laid the bodies of his own brothers across the breach. He stood over them with a pike and died on the same stones. Evacuation order. One man refuses. He sits in his living room, shotgun across his lap, watching the water climb the stairs. By the time the rescue boat reaches him, only the gun is above the waterline. A woman stands over her husband's body in the street. Snipers hold the block. She will not move. Hours pass. The camera cuts when the blood in the gutter reaches her shoes. Some walls are built from stone, others from refusal. Pain is a language we all speak, but some are ordered to keep it to themselves. Field surgeons carried pouches of bullets, not to load guns, but to fill mouths. The soldier would bite down, so screams wouldn't scatter the others. When the jaw unlocked, the bullet carried a ring of blood and enamel. A man's leg comes off at the knee. The bullet in his mouth cracks in half. He swallows both pieces. No morphine. A car battery powers the saw. The patient's teeth grind so hard one splits. The medic drops it into a tin with the shrapnel they've removed. Bone beside metal. Patients stitched with fishing line. Bite sticks replaced by machete sheaths. No one cries out. not from bravery, but because sound travels farther than pain. Sometimes, survival means swallowing the thing that's killing you. A simple tool, the bucket. It holds water, it holds blood. Sometimes it holds you. Executioners once stood the condemned on a bucket, slipped the noose, and kicked. The bucket's fall was the moment the body belonged to the rope. In slaughterhouses, buckets caught the spill from a throat, the drop to the bottom, the sound of a life emptied. The guard gives the order. The stool isn't wood, it's a bucket turned upside down. When it falls, the sound is the same one you hear when you drop a pail into a well, only deeper. A man kneels, head inside a paint bucket. Two men hold the handle while the third works. When they let go, the bucket rolls. Its inside is red as rust. Every vessel has a purpose. Some are built to be emptied. Tomorrow, you'll say something without thinking, a phrase your grandmother used, a throwaway. But every phrase we speak is a bone in the ground. Some are bleached white with time, others still red. The dead don't care if you remember them. They are patient. They have all the time in the world. You've been speaking their language all along.